Welcome, everyone, to another installment of the Hidden Variables podcast. I'm Deb Shakti, your host, and today I'm so honored to introduce you to a dear friend, but also my personal shaman or medicine man, somebody who has led me through some incredible journeys. His name is Drew Bankey. And I'll just tell you a little bit about Drew before we get into some very deep and interesting conversation with him. Drew is a remarkable individual who embodies a deep commitment to service and spiritual well-being. As a veteran, he dedicated himself to protecting his country and serving others. Transitioning into a new chapter of his life after the military, Drew found his calling as a medicine man, using his expertise to help others heal and find inner peace. In addition to his work as a medicine man, Drew is a captivating keynote speaker, sharing his wisdom and insights with audiences around the world. He is also a talented author with his writings inspiring and empowering readers to live authentically and in harmony with nature. Away from the hustle and bustle of modern society, Drew is an off-grid homesteader, living in harmony with the land and practicing sustainable living. His passion for nature and connection to the earth shines through in everything he does. As a co-founder of the plant medicine church Sacred Journeys Within, Drew empowers individuals to explore the healing powers of the plant medicines of our planet for spiritual growth and self-discovery. Through his various endeavors, Drew Bankey continues to touch the lives of many, guiding them on a path towards holistic well-being and inner transformation. Everyone, please welcome my friend and mentor, Drew Bankey. Welcome, Drew.
Hey, Deb, nice to be here. My honor.
Oh, gosh. Well, as busy as you always are, it's just an incredible honor that you're here, and I thank you. And Drew, I don't even know where to start with you. Your background is so varied and so rich and so compelling, deeply moving. But I would just say maybe you might want to give people a little bit of your own little overview, and then we'll let you roll with it, brother. You talk about whatever you want to, because it's all important with you.
Yeah, so, I guess my journey started at birth. I was just contemplating this the other day, how the significance of, I was adopted at 5 days old. And for the first 5 days of my life, I was actually Joshua Brandon Robinson was my name. So to contemplating that on like an energetic level and everything now, like processing it, what has kind of done to the background of my psyche, actually having that being two different people, really, going through transformations all the way from the start. And that's kind of been my process, just going through different transformations from, depression and being on drugs and just everything, being a police officer, and, being kicking in doors with the police department in the early 2000s, and then going to Iraq and everything. There's so many different badges that I wore and everything, and then I got to the point where I don't want any badges at all. Like, I keep my name Drew just so people we can communicate. But if I could do without it, I'd do without that even. But it's been a process the whole way. I didn't find out I was adopted till I was 18. Oh, almost 18. Met my biological mother. Spent a long time trying to meet my biological father, not having any luck, and then come find out he passed away, and without meeting him. So that's another thing that I've been dealing with, and just life, and my life's path, and going to Iraq in 2005 in Baghdad, and 2007 in Ramadi, close to the Syrian border. We was actually west of Fallujah, so we were in the area of Fallujah in 2007.
Wow.
And coming back from that, and then going through a divorce while I was there, just coming home to a lot of heartache, the common things that go with divorce, especially when I had two kids. I had two older kids, a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old that live in Georgia. And it was just a lot of trauma I was processing, and ended up having to go to a different from Georgia. I was supposed to move to Texas to another post in the Army. Was my last stint in the Army, and that unit started to ramp up to go back to Iraq. And at that time, I had divine intervention, I guess, or whatever. I had a back surgery that needed done, like a non-malignant tumor that needed removed,
Uh,
and that back surgery never healed correctly, and I ended up getting out of the Army before I deployed again. And that was in 2009, and from 2009 to 2014 was a lot of depression for various reasons. And 2014 was a major suicide attempt, wound up in the ER. And at that point, that's when I kind of put it was PTSD, not
yeah.
maybe not just from Iraq, but just a lifetime
Everything.
of hard situations, so I got diagnosed with PTSD from the VA and everything. And from 2014 to 2016 was a lot of treatments with the VA, not anything that really helped me. And I felt 2016 was coming up, and I felt this depression was really about to overtake me again. This I felt another suicide attempt coming, and just a really deep depression. And ayahuasca come into the conversation. The seed of ayahuasca got planted in a conversation with a friend, and I started doing, just consuming. I started doing research and online and everything about looking up how it worked with veterans, and that's what I was finding a lot of, just all these accounts of amazing accounts from veterans that drank the medicine and just had a different life afterwards.
Wow.
And I was at the point where I was willing to try anything, and not very spiritual. I knew there was a higher being of some type. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have no definition of it. I had no religious foundation at that time or anything. I was just simply going to ayahuasca because I was at the end of my rope, and I was willing to try anything.
Mm,
And the byproduct was a massive spiritual awakening. With my second ceremony, I signed up for two ceremonies. The first ceremony was just really hell on earth. A lot of purging in the bathroom. And I didn't even puke. It was just a lot of back and forth to the bathroom, and didn't see anything, and kind of wanted to give up, and end up, long story, but I ended up staying that next night. And 20 minutes after I drank the first cup, I just pretty much, I felt like I was taking my last breath, got overcome by well, at first I thought I was sitting on a railroad tracks. I thought I was about to be ran over by a train. This is
oh
where
boy.
my
Intense.
my mind was like grasping for any really physical storyline of what was happening right now. And I saw this big white light coming at me, and when the white light hit me, it come, it was full clarity, like come over me, and I knew what it was. I felt at home, felt at peace, and so much being held, and was basically going through the tunnel. And at some parts of this tunnel, I started to see pictures, different pictures of different faces, but I recognized them as myself.
Oh,
And
yes.
at that time I equated it to past lives or future lives or whatever. Now it's more dimensional fields or vibrational fields where I'm
Mhm.
interacting. I just saw thousands of them going down this tunnel, and I could kind of stop. I could pull one out and go into it for a second and kind of experience it, and then come back out and kind of put it back on the shelf, kind of like a little like Rolodex type of thing
Oh,
or whatever.
yes.
Was what I was seeing. And then at the end of it, I just burst out into this white opening, and I floated out and met the spirit of ayahuasca, and she was just a huge, massive, celestial spirit.
Yes.
And the spirit of cannabis, I met it at the same time, and pretty much gave an introduction. I was amazed, and they said both of them said there was a lot more work to do in the future, and they'd be in contact, and
Wow.
come see them again when I'm ready. And the next weekend, I would do another ceremony. Next weekend,
I don't blame you.
I was like, oh, I gotta, man, it was just amazing. I've never had anything like that. And the third
Yeah.
ceremony, I went into it and didn't. I talked it over with the people that are serving medicine and everything at that time, and trying to get an intention. They're like, "Why don't you ask why you're here?" And man, I did. And it was just, it was a daytime ceremony. I remember it starting off, and I didn't know if I was feeling the medicine or anything. And I had a couple, it was daytime ceremony in Florida, and it was like, it was hot, 80,
Oh
90
yeah.
degrees. We were in the shade though. And so everyone had a cup of water by them, just straight water. And it was sitting there, and the sun was shining through the canopy, and the only place it was shining on everybody, there was like 20 people out there, and the only place it was shining was on me, and I was just burning up.
Oh
And
man.
I looked up at Chris Young, the owner of SoulQuest. He was out there, and he was walking around, and he looked at me, and I was like, Chris, it's so hot. And I looked over at the cup of water, and it just tipped over, like out of nowhere,
Oh
and it
no.
right on my mat, and the mat that I was sitting on, and it just, ice cold water just drenched the mat, and I was immediately changed. Like I was so comfortable, and I just saw, like, I kind of almost saw energy push the cup over.
Yeah.
It wasn't off balance or anything. It just
No.
happened, and then it hit. I mean, when that happened, it just hit. Like everything went digital. Like I saw the sunlight rays coming in, like digital. And I asked if I could take a walk, and they let me like wander off a little bit. And I went and sat down under a tree. And I went sat down beside a tree, and as I sat down, I heard this. I'm like, move over a little bit. I looked down, and it was a little baby tree, and it
Oh
was talking. It
no.
was talking to me and asking me to just scoot over to the left a little bit, because I started to set on it,
Oh.
and oh man, it was just like a long pro. That was a beautiful ceremony, and at the
Yes.
um, I got kind of shown. The aunt kind of showed me what I was supposed to do. Um, and I had this huge vision where I was talking to people. The vibration of the universe was coming through me, and using my vocal cords to communicate and reestablish telepathy, connection between source and humanity, and just
Awesome.
just all types of stuff. And it's told me I was going to be writing books and speaking, and here I am, the first interview today out of two that I'm doing today. So it's just,
It's
um,
happening.
it's happening, and the vibration is reaching people, and I'm really grateful to be part of it. I'm just kind of, I see myself as part of it now. It's just amazing to be entrusted with this mission.
Oh, I'm just so overwhelmed. Every time I hear you speak, you tell another story that I haven't really heard. I thought I'd heard most of your awakening story, especially with Mother Ayahuasca, but I hadn't heard that one yet, the daytime one. And I can relate, man. I mean, you took me through my first journeys, and I thought I knew, how we get so egotistical. I've seen it all, been a meditator all my life. I've done this, I've done that, all the holy things, and I've been to all these realms, and yeah, it cracked my cosmic egg open even more, and it was odd because it changed me in ways that I didn't know it was going to change me. Little things that most people wouldn't give any notice to have become some very big changes in my life. Weird little things like before ceremony, I was doing, 3 to 6 TikTok videos a day, and really, I was getting really popular on TikTok, which sounds ludicrous, but, to stay relevant and to get more exposure with clients and students, you do things like this, right? And doing hundreds of interviews and stuff for the film we had just made. But it was funny, like the day of the ceremony, the first ceremony, I probably posted 3 or 4 really long, like really deep TikTok videos, just sharing guidance and teachings and insights. As soon as that weekend was over, I came home and I had all of this stuff that I had to get out there. And do you know, I've probably been on TikTok, that was what, 2.5 years ago? Probably been on TikTok maybe 4 times since then. I can't make it happen there anymore. It's so weird. I know I'm supposed to return, but my mindset, my heart, my soul had to do some other things first. So it sounds like a little thing, but it made a very big difference because it gave me time to do some of the other things that I was putting off to do. So it was very wise, a very wise teacher. But so to get back to you though, and I just have to thank you because you're such a guide. You and Ella provide such a sacred space. When you named your church Sacred Journeys Within, you weren't playing. It really is. Perfect name, by the way.
I didn't name the church. The universe. We asked for that to come, and it definitely came to both of us in the ceremony shortly after asking for it. So,
wow.
A lot of the guidance that we've took was from spirit. And it's.
I love it so much.
I wouldn't say I was an atheist or anything like that going into my first ceremony, but I definitely didn't have any, basis of anything. And just to be thrust into it and to speak to spirits and coming out of that ceremony, and there was no question. Like there was never a question of whether it was a hallucination or not. I guess later on, as I processed stuff, and the questions went back and forth. Was it a vision? Was it hallucination? Those are questions you go back and forth with. But definitely over the past years, there is no question whether hallucination is really not in my vocabulary or understanding about anything. It just has it's a meaningless word to me now.
Yes.
And that's one thing we try to focus on in our work, me and Ella's work with the church, and even I'm doing. It seems like the energy is pushing me to talk more instead of ceremonies.
Yeah.
And which is great. I think ultimately it's affecting more individuals on a grander scale. Maybe not to the intensity of having a ceremony where you have a dozen me with a dozen other people doing ceremony. Right. But the time calls. Whenever the time calls for it, I'm open to be of service of the universe, basically.
Yeah. And same here.
Basically, ever since 2016, like I look at every day every breath is a gift, and the kids come in. My 2 youngest come in after that suicide attempt and everything, and come and sense the awakening, and I'm just grateful for it all. And that's the more I lean into the gratefulness of just every moment, the more the universe manifests great things for me to be grateful for.
Yeah. And it hands you more opportunities to be of service, which is kind of just, I grew up, I was born in Southern California, and so I surfed at an early age. It was just, I loved the outdoors and loved the ocean and everything. So I've always been a surfer, landlocked surfer now for a long time, but I still love it, although I'm probably a little too old to do it anymore. But I look at moving along this. It's not a linear continuum, as you know. There is no linear anywhere. But this infinitely dimensional continuum that we are exploring together as individuated cells of the one, it's best if you just surf. If you just trust and let the tide carry you, let the waves carry you. I think it's when we start asking questions about, are we supposed to be doing this? Am I really, what if this happens? That's when we start setting up the choppy water, and that's when we bail. But painfully so for in my case sometimes. But when we surf our lives the way that you are, like you just described, things are being shown to you on a day-to-day basis and you're saying yes to them, you may have to let go of certain things, or maybe even just reduce your activity in that one area, maybe even just for a short time, because this is where you're needed. So you go where the energy takes you, and I believe that energy message comes from your heart, you know? And I see you as such a heart-centered person. That's where the wisdom comes, right? So, but I want to get back to this story because you had these incredible experiences that literally saved your life. Literally saved your life. And somewhere in there, you became very integrated with a Native American population and became a medicine man, became a pipe carrier. Is that how I say it? Can
Yeah,
you
so
talk a bit about that?
yeah, Sundancer, and this is I never really, I haven't got into it much about how I got to Sundance, but it actually happened through a vision in a dream that ayahuasca come into a dream after ceremony. Not anywhere close to ceremony. It was just like after I started drinking the medicine and everything, my dream space just started opening up, and I started to have
Mm,
precognition dreams all the time. They
yeah.
started off small just to prove to me that they were valid. And I wrote them off like everyone does, starting off. It's just, oh, that's a weird coincidence,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Coincidence like doesn't is another word that I just kind of thrown out of my
Nope.
vocabulary. It doesn't make any, it
Non-constructive.
has no value to me
Mm-mm.
anymore. But um oh yeah, I was having dreams, and it's when the Standing Rock pipeline protests started kicking off and everything. And I seen a post where they were asking for veterans to come out and help, just to stand with them. And I had a dream, after seeing that post, and I was out there. And so I kind of woke up next morning. I was like, "Hey, babe, I think we're supposed to go out to Standing Rock and like deliver some goods out there." We're like living in South Florida, Cape Coral, Fort Myers area at the time, and uh, so we started a drive. We Ella ended up on the news, and
Wow.
collecting stuff to take to Standing Rock, and we got clothes and hand warmers and food and
Wow.
just things like that, and it started off, just me and Ella was going to take basically a carload of stuff out there, however much we could fit. And by the time we were done, we had like 3 vehicles and 2 pickups that were full of stuff, and another vehicle, I think. Yeah, we went out there, and we were supposed to be out there a few days, just like 2 or 3 days, and turn around and come back. A blizzard hit while we were there, and I had a dream that I was supposed to stay. And Ella and the group that I was with left, and I stayed at Standing Rock, and I was there over 2 months. And
Wow, Drew.
um, I was on a camp. There was over 20,000 people that were camped out in North Dakota. A huge prayer camp. We did protests and stuff too, nonviolent protest, but it was went through about 2 or 3 blizzards. That's where my name Blue Thunderman came,
Mm-hmm.
because lightning struck on the camp twice during a blizzard, and it lit up the land
Like
as
blue.
blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a medicine woman that was there and saw that, and she ended up inviting me to Sundance, and so I ended up going to Sundance the following year, which was 2017, and um, maybe 2 months before I actually went to Sundance, dreams started, where I was dancing in the arbor, which I didn't I didn't look up any pictures or anything what a Sundance was. I just knew it was a ceremony that the elders said I should go to.
Oh, wow.
And but I started having dreams of seeing me in the arbor hooked to a tree and everything. And when I reached out to that lady that had Beatrice Quinoa Jackson, Soaring Eagle Woman, which is now my auntie, and she named me and everything. But she said, "Well, it sounds like you're supposed to dance."
Wow.
That's how I would interpret it. And so I committed. I got there and um, started to get my stuff ready to dance, and I ended up dancing that first year in 2017. And um, just amazing things happened in the arbor that first year. And yeah, I ended up getting my pipe that first year from my grandpa, and another like hunka. They call it hunka adoptions when you're adopted like that, like spiritual adoptions.
Right.
But when you're named, or you get a pipe or something like that, or even someone gives you a feather, that's like what they call a hunka adoption, which is just basically a recognition that the family lineage goes a lot deeper than blood quantum.
Blood. And you're part of the
And
tribe then.
in a sense, yeah, not federally recognized or anything,
Well,
but
no, but
uh, yeah,
spiritually,
and I have a son and a daughter now that's part Blackfoot from Ella's side. And Ella's mom, she grew up on the reservation around ceremonies and things like that. And
wow.
her name was she was actually named as a child Little White Cloud. And
Oh,
she grew up around actually peyote ceremonies and things like that. So yeah, it's just crazy how things happened. And
well,
yeah,
for
dance that first year, pulled skull, ended up pulling skulls the second year from piercings on my back. That was a connection to the buffalo. That's had some transcendent moments during that. I was given a lot of pointers and talked to a lot before I pulled the skulls, because it's really one of the hardest ways to Sundance is pulling buffalo skulls. And pulling the skulls themselves, that weight um, translates into like carrying the weight of the people. So when you
yes,
broke free of the buffalo skulls, you were actually helping the collective break free of the struggles that they carry.
the
And
chains of their past. Yeah.
that's kind of one of the prayers of pulling the skulls, is you're pulling them for the people. Like you're doing a prayer using your body, and praying for the collective, release of things that are holding them back.
So it's a service to the community that you do these dances. For people who may not be real familiar with that culture, can you describe, I mean, you did a little bit, you said the skulls are attached to piercings on your back. Can you describe what dancing in the arbor at the first time was, and a little bit more about the pulling of the skulls? Just briefly, because I know it's sacred information, but so people will actually understand what kind of sacrifice that is. I
Yeah.
don't think people
So
understand.
the Sundance. There's two Sundances. The Sundance Film Festival, which is
Mm-hmm.
not the Sundance I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look up Sundance. There's tons of information and pictures and everything out there. Looking at deeper, but the gist of it, you're doing it. People are doing a ceremony, and very select people. I tell people you have to have a dream calling you to Sundance to really do it. If not, you're going to get hurt physically.
Sure.
Because there's times in it you have to transcend your physical body to get through it.
Yes.
It's a 4-day ceremony, 24 hours a day, 4-day ceremony. But you're dancing from sun up to sundown. And at sundown, you go there's a sweat lodge right after you come out of the arbor. And in the morning, you do a sweat lodge before you go into the arbor. So you do a total of 8 sweat lodges, two a day without food and water for 4 days. And so that alone, and you're dancing sun up to sundown. So as soon as the sun comes up, you're in the arbor dancing. As soon as the sun rays hit the arbor, you're in the arbor and already dancing. And to to a drum. There's a big drum. They call it a grandmother drum.
Right.
And it's similar to a powwow drum, but it's a little more sacred than that. But same kind of way that people sing around in powwows, that's how it's done in Sundance. But they're singing much older songs. The beats a lot slower a lot of times, and they're praying to different things: the eagle, thunderbird, buffalo, different, many different animal spirits and everything. And that's done for the whole time from sun up to sundown. So, and there's 4 rounds throughout the day, so you're not necessarily out in the arbor the entire time. There is breaks in between rounds, but yeah, you're dancing a good 8 to 10 hours a day in the sun each
Incredible.
day. And by the second or third day, you're reaching transcendent
Right.
state, where kind of the same where if you ate a bunch of mushrooms or ayahuasca and everything,
Precisely.
the spirit world starts to become present in the physical, and that's
Yeah.
I've seen some wild things happen. Little fawn deers run through the arbor in the middle of the day and things like that, and just waking up in the morning and there be a large pile of bear poop in our camp, like where the
Oh,
sun dancers
wow.
are at, and things. It's just crazy things, but also having visions in the wake state, and also when you pull skulls or pierce or anything, lots of times you will pass out from shock, and you have extreme visions at that point.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, my second year I did it. Oh, pulled skulls. The third year in 2019, I started to eagle. I pierced the first day, and I was going to eagle dance, which means I was hooked to the tree from beginning to end. The whole 4 days, I would be hooked to the tree, and at the fourth day, I would break. So when the sun
Oh,
went down, I would literally just lay on the ground under the tree, and the rest of the dancers, went back and they slept in their teepees and things
mhm.
away from the arbor at night. So they you do get some rest. But the eagle dancers, me and 2 other guys, so it was a total of 3 guys in 2019, were all hooked to the tree starting from
Start to
the
finish.
first round all the way to the finish.
Wow.
And the second day is when I had my near death experience, and went into shock, and um, yeah, and come out of that with the message that Drew wasn't supposed to pray like that anymore. The spirits didn't want him. It was something I was doing to basically punish myself deep down,
Right. Mhm.
and it wasn't for the spirits anymore if I were to continue. And that was
Right.
the overall message that I come out of the near death with. And um, yeah, just have more compassion for myself, and that's a message I try to spread to more people.
Oh, I love that. Because it doesn't matter what tradition you go into, whether it's indigenous or organized religion or whatever, there seems to be this undercurrent of self-immolation, and so that you can be forgiven or so you can be cleansed or whatever. Well, there's a certain point where you just have to say, I forgive myself and I forgive the world, I forgive everybody, and I'm grateful for everything and move on. Because anything past that, I think, is an ego attachment. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, your spirit was really spot on in telling you to do that. But it had to be hard to say, to tap. I used to be a
It,
fighter, so I know what it's like to tap out. You just don't do it unless you just have no other choice.
yeah, it's just building trust with. I see it as more of a test with building trust with the spirits, and because starting to Sundance, I had to sit down and offer tobacco to the elders,
Mm-hmm.
and commit to 4 years of sundancing to even start to even start sundancing.
Wow.
So when I didn't go back for my 4th year, but they in 2019, they showed me that uh, the dance wouldn't even happen the following year. And I come out of that, and I set up, and I telling all these like full blood natives, like and this white guy is like coming up
Telling
with
him
this
what to do.
grand vision. Yeah,
Yeah.
tell him that there's not going to be a Sundance next year, and I just felt all this judgment. I was just wide open, especially at that moment. I was just wide open, and I could kind of hear all their thoughts and feelings and
Oh
everything.
my
But
Lord, that had to be intense.
I was just like, stay with it. This is what you know. This is what
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was a test of me trusting the spirits and everything, and that message. Well, COVID hit before
Yeah.
the next Sundance, and we didn't dance the next year. We didn't dance the following year or the year after that. The 2000 this last year is when they finally danced again, and I didn't go. I mean, I didn't because I don't. What the spirits told me is that prayer is between me and the spirits. It wasn't between
Yes.
me. It wasn't between me and any man. Um, my grandpa that I sat down and smoked a pipe with and everything. One of the guys I made the commitment with, he's passed on, and he's definitely been. I've been connected with him more, and like with John, it's the same
Oh
thing. Like,
yes. Yeah.
you ever have any deep moments with
Mhm.
people like that in the physical? It doesn't stop it once they
No.
pass.
In fact, it seems to get deeper and more
Yeah.
expanded, and for that I'm deeply grateful. So, no, thank you for explaining, because people are gonna who don't know you are looking at you going, does he have Native American background? Or it has to be. And again, that gets into ego stuff, but it is a great honor to be asked when you are not part of that lineage. It's just really special. So they, your auntie in the beginning recognized your spirit. Just because you're in a body with DNA that doesn't match theirs is immaterial. I think that proves the wisdom of those people to me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's been a big. I wouldn't say test, but a good baseline for me when I'm talking to people along this path, especially like in the Native American community and things like that. If they're stuck on like the color of the skin or what the
Yeah.
blood quantum of someone is, they haven't really experienced. They haven't really touched on the same spot that I'm touching on.
No.
It's not a point of judgment or anything like that. It's just understanding of knowing where they're at, and
Yeah.
the ones that have seen me, no, I mean, I've had some very deep conversations with some elders. I'm I'm a white guy, and I danced in the arbor with Dennis Banks playing the AIM song, the American Indian Movement AIM song, at the main drum. I was dancing in arbor my first year to Dennis
Wow.
Banks doing that, along with 9 people from Japan,
Wow.
and full blood natives and other white people, and just we were praying with a technology that is
That's
not that's owned by the universe, that's not owned by a certain tribe or anything like that.
that's so
Um, all that being said, I do have a lot of reverence for everything, the teachings, the ways, and everything. I do have a lot of reverence for everything that I've been entrusted with, But
well,
yeah, I was named Blue Thunder Man that first at Sundance that first year, and when I was gifted my pipe and gifted a bald eagle feather with all that.
wow.
And with that, I was adopted by my grandpa Francis Dutcher,
Hmm.
and my auntie Beatrice Kima Jackson, which is also known as Soaring Eagle Woman.
Amazing. Well, and you just mentioned a very key word for me that brings me to another part of your story, and that is technology. All of these things we've been talking about since you came on are technologies. The plant medicines, the visions, the dancing, the rituals, all of these things are technologies. And you look in every culture, there are things that we would call traditions or rituals. But to me, they're technologies. I'm a yogi, I've been a lifelong yogi. yoga is a technology and all the things that go with it. So to bring this around to what I want to talk about next is that you are an ET contact experiencer. And I don't even want to say ET. I think those words are labels and they're just dumb. I'm about consciousness, and I think it's all consciousness, whether you call it a ghost, a spirit, a dragon, a angel, a ancestor, whatever. Interdimensionals, they're consciousness, and you have had some extremely great experiences. And would you say that you are continuously getting new technologies to share with the world? Because I know I am, and they translate through some of these other arenas that we already have in place. What do you think about
Sure. This come up recently. When I say recently, probably over the past couple months or so, I was starting to work on some bigger projects and everything in the background. And one of the things that got asked to me a few times, and it got me thinking, it's like, what is your specialty? Like, what do you, what do you got all this information, but what are you doing? Like, what do what is it that you're doing? And it got me thinking, it's like, what am I doing? Like, what do you call it? What am I actually doing? And I think, and this is why I'm trying to, dress a little nicer, not wearing t-shirts and stuff and making my hair a little nicer and stuff like that. Because I think what I come up with, I'm trying to bridge the gap in between this technology and where we're at right now. I'm trying to bring to meld the two, so both can benefit.
Right.
Both the ancestral lineage of it is going to benefit if it continues on in this time, and we're gonna and I say that very loosely, but just all the information that's been hidden, our sacred energies, telepathy, telekinesis, and things like that. I'm trying to bring that into this realm, so also humanity can benefit from it. More importantly, the lineage of the information and the ceremonies and consciousness will grow stronger from this understanding. But the real side that's going to benefit is 3D humanity in this moment, because things are changing at a rapid pace. I was just talking, one thing I speak a lot about is looking at my kids, and I got two older kids that started off in a reality where ET it was in the fiction category, and just kind of laughed at. And my kids, Hawk and Ember, my two youngest, my 9-month-old, my 2-year-old, is they're starting off in a reality of that, and growing.
They'll never know a world without it.
Never know a world without it. I mean, and their household is just a conducive area, hopefully, so they can explore, that realm in a safe manner and never have to go through, the reawakening. The reawakening. They can just always be awake, and I just hope that for them. But that's kind of where I'm at now, just being a father to them. And that's kind of my main thing, because they're going to turn into some amazing people, but also in the background, just being a mirror for humanity and helping bridging the gap of those experiences. Recently, we was talking about it right before we started the interview, talking about Chaco Canyon. 2018 was one of pivotal moments in my experiences, when I had a face-to-face encounter after hiking through Chaco Canyon all day and then going back to a B&B at Cortez, Colorado, which is over an hour away from Chaco Canyon. If you've ever been out to Chaco Canyon, there's
get there from
you either gonna camp out there, or you're gonna drive back somewhere and stay.
Yeah.
So it was me and my wife's anniversary, and we went out there. One of the things that we were doing for our anniversary was hiking Chaco Canyon, and some of the petroglyphs there was just amazing. I felt we walked through the main mesa ruins and everything, and walked through the rooms, and just amazing experience. At the end of it, um, I offered the Canyon a Native American prayer song, and had my drum with me and everything, and offered a song. Kind of had it planned out that I was going to do this. Is Chaco Canyon has been calling me for a long time before that,
Same.
and went back to the B&B, and that night had an experience where I woke up in the middle of the night, about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I vibrate like real heavy tinnitus was in my ears, but it was also in my body. And the longer I was up, the more it was like taking over my body. I stepped outside to have some tobacco and get some fresh air, and just kind of take a moment. And tobacco tends to ground me,
Right.
so I use it in those situations. But when I lit the tobacco, stepped forward on this deck on this B&B, I went to. The vibration was so strong it made me almost had to cough and spit. So I leaned forward to spit into the grass, and when I leaned forward, I seen 2 feet beside me,
Wow.
and I turned towards it, and it kind of mirrored turn at the same time, these feet. So immediately, like what is in my mind is like, this is a shadow from like a street light behind me or something. So I turned around and looked, there was no lights behind me. And as I turned back around, it's all like in slow motion, this shadow being opened its eyes, and in its eyes were just stars and galaxies. And I just seen shooting stars, and it just opened real wide. And by the time it got its eyes wide open, I kind of felt it suck my soul out, and I just dove out of my body and into its eyes. And that's another thing I realized at the moment, like our eyes are portals.
Yes.
Yeah,
Wow,
I was just flying through this space, and just getting massive downloads of everything, just a lot of clarity, and just all types of things were just coming very apparent. And seems like forever I was in there, but I had to be just a few moments and kind of snap back into my body. I'm looking at this being now, and I can see its black eyes with black body with star eyes. And I just freaked out and like ran inside, locked the door and everything. Ran. Ella was still sleeping. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like waking her. I ran in the bedroom. I shut the door, locked the door. I'm like woke her up. I'm like looking out the window, and I'm like, you'll never believe what just happened to me. It's like, you got to go out there and see. And she's like, no, I don't want to go out there. She's like, that's for you. And
oh boy.
Just kind of calm down, and probably out of the next half hour, 45 minutes, I just pacing around the house, and finally I went and looked out the back window. Nothing was out there, and my mind started like, okay, it's a shadow, whatever. And I just like, okay, finally I went to sleep and kind of babbled about it, madly babbled about it for the next couple of days to Ella. And eventually it just kind of stopped being a conversation. It was on my mind. And about a week or two late after that, I had a dream where started off in this dream. I was like on this planet, and I went through this, I don't know, I just popped on this in the back of the yard, and I just seen Drew like this body and everything step out, light a tobacco, cough and everything, spit. And then I realized, I was like, oh man, I was like, I'm going through that same situation, but from the other being's viewpoint. Yeah. And I realized that that being wasn't a shadow being. It was another particle of myself that was coming back to help me in this moment. And I really understood bilocation, how we're bilocated, how we're multidimensional beings, and things like that become real apparent in that moment. And same thing happened I was doing a Uwipi ceremony in Crestone years ago, and had the same interaction, had a face-to-face encounter with a Bigfoot in the ceremony.
Mm.
And same thing happened to me. I had a dream, probably 2 weeks after that, where I went through the same experience. I went through basically this portal kind of, and I was on this planet with this in a forest that was just like, I could tell, like looking back on it now, it's a different planet because some of the colors and plants and stuff weren't on this planet. But I
Right.
was there as this like, Bigfoot,
Mm-hmm.
and I went through this portal and wound up in this building, and there was a bunch of people singing and everything in this Whippy ceremony. And I walked up to Drew, and when I seen Drew, it all like hit me. I was like,
Yeah.
man, we're on a lot of, we're operating on a lot of different levels. Some people call it, oh, you got your angels around you and things like that. Those are other facets. Ultimately, there
Yeah.
are other facets of yourself.
It's all
And
you.
yeah, we
It's
have
all.
to, especially in this body, we have to put it into compartments to try to understand it and put names
Sure.
on it. It's all source, and it's all ultimately you.
Yeah.
It's all, but for us to exist, we have to maintain some type of separateness just to still be in existence. It's very
In this
difficult, but
construct, in this
in
density.
the, in
Yeah.
this is this construct.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I just say, I always tell people this body, I call it a spacesuit. We're spiritual beings. We have to put this spacesuit on to be able to navigate this particular environment, or we couldn't interact with it validly,
Mhm.
the way that a third density person would. And the operating system is the brain, and the ego personality kind of infuses that. So it doesn't hold very much. It's like a flash drive, right? But we are the cloud, actually. So we have all the information, and we
For
can
sure.
access that. But to be able to navigate this experience, you have to kind of compile it down to, some structured things that are really rudimentary as compared to who we really are.
For
But
sure. There's the universe's mission is really huge. I mean, it's big.
yeah,
Um, and you don't eat a meal on one bite. You take
no,
small bites to eat a meal, and that's kind of the same sense of things. You concentrate on, and that's what we all need to do. We need to step into who we are. We're not we're not cashiers at Walmart, or we're not doctors or lawyers or any of
no,
that. We're much more than that. You can still be that if you want, but open yourself. I just asked that everyone just open themselves up to, like, what is possible. Like, what do I want to do? Like, what feeds my heart? Like, what makes my skin tingle? You know,
yes,
it's not, paying bills and being in that 3D. So figure out what it is that makes your skin tingle, and incorporate that and integrate that into your life in some way, form, or fashion. And just allow yourself, like, this is why I think it's important to talk about, like, the observer mindset that Ram Dass talks about and all the sages
yes,
talk about. Being, I realized this from, like, my own path of when I'm operating from the observer mindset, and let my ego take a back seat, still exist, but take more of a back seat, and
mm,
be the observer, and let the universe decide what it wants for me to experience and go through. I found that the universe looks a lot higher on me than my ego does on myself. And I
oh
think
yes,
I think that's true for all of us. We have self-sabotage, and it doesn't matter if you have a big ego or anything like that. Deep down, we have self-sabotage. But when we operate from the observer mindset, and we let the universe write our story, and we're kind of just being the observer in it and going through it, we can see that the universe has a unconditional love for us that is unmatched by anything or anyone.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I couldn't agree with you anymore. You're speaking my heart like you wouldn't believe. And these experiences that you had where you had the juxtaposition, the role reversal with that being, that's star being or whatever, universal being, and with the Bigfoot. the Janu, it's just you, it's your higher self giving you the opportunity to see from that other perspective. I mean, we don't just have 360-degree vision, we have all dimensional vision, or perception, I should say. And I think that some of the things that you have been bringing into the world, experiencing yourself as a brave explorer, and then bringing to the world, have really helped to open up minds and hearts to accepting that there is way more. And so, I tell people there are many paths up the mountain, but we're all going up the mountain. It doesn't mean that there's just one way to do it, but don't limit yourself by thinking you only have to do it one way as well. Reinventing yourself or rediscovering yourself along the way is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So these technology. Go ahead.
Before we move away from Chaco Canyon,
Yes.
one things I just found out is NASA owns rights to Chaco Canyon, the main kiva structure in Chaco Canyon, and from what I understand, the ancestors that were living there, they were doing a celestial ceremony that lasted years.
Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to connect stargates that are located in Chaco Canyon, and they were building these stargates, but they were trying to connect them to different constellations. So there's a lot of these the round ceremonial structures. If anyone can pull up Google pictures of Chaco Canyon, like aerial photos, and can see these round things, they're supposed to line up with different stars and points and things like that. They're supposed to be Orion. Orion's a big portal area and things like that. But the rights of that main kiva structure and a lot of the other structures, I come to find out, is actually owned by NASA. And
incredible.
I heard this through Billy Carson recently.
Mm-hmm.
And there's parts of the Grand Canyon that's also owned by NASA. There's temples in the Grand Canyon that are that pray to Isis and Osiris.
I know.
And they're coming to find out. I was listening to another this brings up something else. I was listening to another podcast on the Sean Ryan show, which is another show that I'm aiming for and about to. There's a lot of interesting things that are happening there. Been trying to get on that podcast for a minute, and ended up getting a message from someone that watched Homestead Rescue. He's a veteran, and 2 or 3 comments into this private message back and forth, he's like, "Hey, I know Sean Ryan. I think I want to try to connect you. Have you ever heard of him?"
Oh my gosh. Been trying forever.
Yeah. But there was a guest on there recently. He was the first actual remote viewer for the movie Men Who Stare at Goats.
Oh yeah.
He was. It was actually based on him, like his program and everything.
Right.
So he was a remote viewer for the government or the powers to be or whatever you want to call it. But he was on there and was doing an interview. And one of the craziest things I've ever heard, he remote viewed Mars 100 million BC and went to pyramids, and inside the pyramids were human bodies that were 9 to 10 feet tall, and there was hundreds of them, and they were laying in stasis.
Yes, I've heard this in your interview. Yes,
like med bed. They were in stasis, waiting for someone to come back.
Suspended animation,
and resurrect them. And it just blew my mind that it kind of opened me up to the I was told one time that the aliens, because I asked through all these ceremonies, I just started asking questions and getting all these profound answers back. So then I started like really delving into it, especially when I started seeing ships and all that. When all that started, I just kind of asked the medicines, like, when are we actually going to have disclosure? And I said, disclosure is when you look in the mirror and understand that you're the alien.
Absolutely.
And I said, in this visionary state, I was just like, "Are you talking about me?" They're like, "No, everybody."
Mm-hmm.
And I just laughed, like in the physical, it pulled me out of the visionary state, because I just blinked and I was just standing there in the ceremony. I was like, just blowing my own mind, just like, holy, this is going to be hard for
It's
people to
big.
really grasp. Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's just mind blowing,
I love it
and
so much.
yeah,
But
I
it's
don't know where I
interesting.
was going with all that, but that's
All I have to say is, I have bucket list. Chocolate Canyon is one of my bucket list things. I've been all around there. I've explored all those places, but I have not explored that yet. And I know I'm supposed to go there. I know I'm there. But to find out, this is the first time I have heard. I guess I never heard Billy say that, but now I'm hearing you say it, that NASA owns the rights to that and to those secret caverns that hold those Egyptian treasures and temples and all of that. That's pretty telling, don't you think? That there's something else going on there other than ancient people drawing on cave walls, on canyon walls.
yeah. One of the things that I found, and this is why this is in my office. This right here is the basis of understanding how pendulums work, how energy
Yep.
moves, how chi works.
Yep.
But you can go. I've been to probably 6 different sites in the United States, throughout California, Nevada, New Mexico, here in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to about 6 different petroglyph sites, and one thing I found in every single one of them is that, and that's the energy that's coming out of your meridian points right now. It's emitting off your body right now. That's why I have a Buddha too. I managed to put this in the office too. It's in the house, but it's a Buddha head, a ceramic Buddha head, but around the Buddha head, there's all these swirls.
Yeah.
And that's really what's going on with us at all times. And, I talk about how the powers to be have been harvesting our manifestation energy for the last couple hundred years, because they understand about how energy works, how mind works, how manifestation ultimately works. And if they can get you to direct your energy or focus to a flag, I know this gets under a lot of people's skin, but I got a flag tattooed on my arm. I did 10 years in the Army, but this is the reality and understanding that that I'm coming to. And I hate to spread it, because it goes against a lot of my beliefs that I was ingrained with coming up in the military and everything. But the manifestation energy that we start off with as a kid, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. You're giving your power. Each of us has been giving our manifestation energy to that flag. The powers to be collect that energy from that flag, and then they build a cage around us that pushes us to be more patriotic, more, every time we go to war and everything, the patriotism and everything, and the love for the flag, like spikes.
Oh yeah.
So it's a process. Once you see it, it's hard to take in, but it's real, and we all have to accept it and start to process it so we can move on.
Yeah. Well, the spiral that you're showing has also been, to me, it shows a vortex. It's just like what I see when I'm looking at people's chakras. It's just what I see when I go to places of power or conditioned spaces, even. Conditioned space is a quantum physics term about where you do something over and over again consistently. You're literally putting the energy into that, and you're literally imprinting it. So you go to a Chaco Canyon, for instance, probably for millions of years, there was all kinds of sacred stuff happening there, and technological things happening, really important things. That place is a conditioned space, and it holds all of that there. Your heart is a conditioned space. But that symbol behind you, and that is on your Buddha head, it's on my Buddha head too, by the way. I've got the same Buddha head. That's really funny. Has also been used for, at least since I've been an adult. I grew up in the hippie years, but we called that the gratitude symbol. So, and it's funny, I have an experiencer group I call the Vortex, because I just see all of the energy of the people starting to wake up, coming together, And all the puzzle pieces are starting to fit together once we start communicating without judgment and with open minds and open hearts. I just see that pulling us in. And it's an energy, it's a force, it's the strongest force, it's the force of love, I think. But I wanted to. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Well, I just wanted to say, you've gotten really interested in promoting some or reigniting interest in some simple technologies that can turn into giant technologies, as I have. Most of my life I've been interested in telekinesis and I call it telepathy, not telepathy, because you got the feelings coming too. But you were playing around with some telekinetic stuff and psychometry and so forth the last time I saw you on something, and I wondered if you had anything that you wanted to talk about that today or present on.
Sure.
Before we let you go.
So, I normally start off by just talking about Dr. Emoto and reminding people, or if they have read Dr. Emoto's work about the secret of water or the magic
Messages
behind water.
In water. Yeah.
Yeah, Messages in Water. I've had that book several times, and I always give it away. I can never keep a copy of it because I just keep giving it away. I give it away more than my own books, but Dr. Emoto's work will really open you up to the understanding that frequency affects water, both positive and negative. And that understanding that, he did tests and everything. And please, I suggest to you, if it's the first time you're ever hearing about it, jump down that rabbit hole and do a bunch of Google and read, find that book, read it, get on Audible or whatever. But because it'll help you move into the next level of this disclosure, which is ultimately waking up the powers within, waking up our internal portal. And so we can, use this as a spacesuit, as a spaceship. And, but his work found, he did experiments. He put 2 glasses of water from the same source, put them in different rooms. One room, he put a recording of a speech from Hitler, and in the other room, it was Beethoven's Fifth Symphony or whatever it was. 2 totally different vibes of vibrations,
feelings,
and feelings. So after 30 days, he went into both rooms, and the water was visibly discolored in the room where the repeated speech from Hitler. And they've done these studies with even on rice and things like that in the since then. But
plants,
plants. But this particular one, the other one was with Beethoven was actually more pure than what it was when it first started. They tested it and put it under microscope, and the cellular level of the water on each side, one was geometric shapes, beautiful geometric shapes, perfect, and the other one was just discolored and distorted. So the finding was water reacts to both positive and negative vibration, and it holds memory. So knowing that, we can understand that our bodies are made of mostly water, and it's holding memories. I come to it time and time again in my own healing, my own personal healing, and healing journeys for others, where we will go through birthing process and early years before you actually have physical memory. The medicine, the ceremonies are showing me over and over again that there's a cellular memory that's imprinted through everything. And so moving forward in that, I started working with the medicine and met our teacher Renato. And one time after ceremony, I was watching Renato talking with a group, and Renato was offset by himself. But he was playing with a pendulum, and it's the first time I've ever really seen a pendulum in person. But I seen it just doing crazy things, and I didn't even ask him about it. I just next day or two, me and Ella was out with 2 of our friends, and we stopped by this metaphysical shop, and they had this whole row of pendulums. And I started my ears started buzzing, and I
Boy.
knew I was supposed to get a pendulum. And I walked up to all these crystal pendulums, and I just unknowingly I just held my hand out and ran it across all these pendulums, and each one of them come towards my hand as I ran my hand across.
Yeah, wow.
And I went back across again, and I was just amazed. And then one was almost 45 degrees out from the stand, and it was pulling the stand down. So I was like, okay, that just I never had an experience like that before. I had a lot of visionary states and things like that, but being that close to a multiple day retreat, coming out of it, I was just I called Elle over, and I'm like,
finally attuned.
Can you believe this? I get, the physical is reacting with me. And I started messing around with the pendulum, and over time I started feeling the energy coming off my hands, and the meridian point in my left hand was rotating the same energy as my right foot, and my right hand was connected to my left foot. Then I started visualizing the meridian lines in my body, and I started seeing the meridian line, the energy structure of the human body started just becoming a knowing to me. And then I started expanding out. I started seeing if I could transmute objects. And the first thing I ever did was transmute a lighter. So the exercise that I've done before, and I'll do it right now for the listeners, pause this, go grab a pendulum, and come back and grab a Bic lighter or whatever, and come back. All right. So now that you're back, we're going to do a little exercise where you hold a pendulum over the Bic lighter, and you can close your eyes or keep them open, but we're going to talk about the lighter in a physical sense. It's a Bic lighter. Mine happens to be the color black. It has a metal shiny thing over top. It has a flint inside. It has a spring. It has a red little igniter thing, and still be holding the pendulum over as we're talking about this. So the idea is you're going to see an energy shift come off the lighter depending on how we speak about it. And now as we speak about this lighter, this particular lighter just lit some Palo Santo right before we started this interview to kind of set the room for me. So it's sacred in that sense. It can light a flame, so it's connected to the central fire, so it's sacred in that sense. There's a lot of different ways that as we're looking at this lighter that we can send it gratitude and thankfulness for being a part of a sacred object. And as we're talking about this, we can think about maybe where this lighter come from. Maybe it come from a factory in Minnesota. It was packed with a million other lighters in boxes, wound up at a gas station, and it has no significance other than that. Or it can light a prayer candle in a Catholic church and represent a prayer for someone that's just had a loved one passed. Mm-hmm. It can light a candle at a funeral. It can be part, depending on how we use it and how we look at it. This one object can be viewed at least two different ways. And that same thing is true with every object out there. And I'll give you an example why everything is sacred, and why everything that you look at can have hopefully people that are working with this pendulum now can feel energy for themselves come off this object as we speak about it different ways. That's the idea. That's the goal. That's what most things happen. You can use the pendulum and test water. You can use the pendulum and test tobacco, or, if you have, say any plants, you can feel the energy coming off it with the pendulum. Mm-hmm. But not only plants, it's everything. And it's from the sacredness comes from your mindset and viewpoint of it. And that's everything, every object that's in existence. This AirPod case was in someone's mind or in multiple people's minds at one time, and now it's in the physical. It manifested from an idea from a
Mm-hmm.
dream to the physical. So therefore it's sacred. And this is sacred because I'm using AirPods to help give this message.
Yeah.
This whole computer system's sacred. The
Yes.
internet's sacred. It's how you view, and my point behind saying all this is how you view life, and it's how you view every object around it. You are a part of it. You're connected to it. Everything around you is source, and you are part of it. You're a God walking on two legs, and you need to come to a balance of understanding what it means to you, somewhere in between the reality of being a two-legged 3D human being and a God. You need to come to figure out what is right in each moment of that balance in between those two truths. And that's all I
Wow.
got.
Wow, Drew. Wow, you went from something super simple to something, galactic. Amazing. I was playing with my pendulum as you were talking because I do this a lot and I teach the same way you do. And, no matter how hard I try to not influence it, just listening to what you were saying was making it, and I have my own way. If it's positive or yes, it's clockwise. If it's negative or no, it's counterclockwise and so forth. And just as you were talking, it was just doing all of its stuff. And so it was just validating what you were saying. But I highly recommend everybody does that exercise and just, play with your thoughts and your feelings and see how it goes. And if you
Yeah.
really think, if you really, really think that you're just your skin or your hand or whatever is making it do it, from micro movements, get yourself a tripod, a stand with a circular, ring, hook the pendulum to it and put the object under there and just think about the object. Don't, And I think you were talking about putting something under a glass jar with a pin.
Yeah, there's another because this is a process where this, what I just described and talked about, this is meant to get you on the movement.
Right.
You can
Explore
go all the
yourself.
way, explore with the possibilities of what's possible. I've seen people switch lights off. I've seen people open and close doors. So there's a process to this, and it can, just like anything, with practice, you can reawaken and get stronger with it.
Yeah.
So there's a thing where you can get, say, a needle, just a sewing needle, put it in a cork. Just get a wide cork that has a wide base to it. Put that needle inside the cork, and on top of that needle, take a piece of tinfoil and fold it just in half. Make a long crease so it has like a taco, and put that taco of that aluminum foil centered on top of that needle, and just so where it's balancing. Then take a glass jar, a mason jar, or something like that, and put over top of that, so there's that thing could spin and move around without touching the sides. And the idea behind that, so your mind can't say it's the wind moving.
Yeah.
You gotta, through this whole process, you gotta have to keep reminding your mind that there's more possible than what it thinks, because your mind's gonna keep saying, there's all these things doing it. So to counteract all that before it even starts, just put it in a closed glass environment so there's no outside interference, and start trying to move that back and forth with your mind. Understand, telekinesis has a little bit to do with magnetism. Understand that magnetism is a natural force of the earth, which we hold ourselves. If the earth holds the power, if the earth holds the medicine, so do we, because there's no separation. So we know that the earth holds a magnetic power, so do we. And start to remember that while you're looking at this. And there's a donkey.
Are they warning you of something?
He agrees.
I love your new donkeys. They're so cute. So cute.
Yeah, but just play with it on your, this ultimately, everything I talk about is, don't take it from me. Like I do this so people can experience it.
Right.
That's why, when I tell people, like, podcast host, I'm going to do this, the first thing that comes out, oh, people are going to say you're moving it with your hands. I'm like, well, I'm not going to do it. Like, I don't even have a pendulum. I'm not doing this exercise. I know what happens, or I hope to know what happens, and it's to have an experiential thing that starts the process of what else is possible.
Yeah, it's such a simple thing, but it's a really, really compelling thing. So I really do invite people to give it a try, and then go off and explore more about how to do these things, because we all have all the superpowers in this spacesuit, this spaceship, but a lot of stuff has been turned off so that we, by the powers that want to stay in power, indoctrination, or just by virtue of the fact that it went to sleep because we didn't use it. We got to where we didn't use it. We were convinced by others that we didn't have it. So they went to sleep. They're just dormant. But once you start doing these things, even hearing this, and if you're listening to this particular interview, you were meant to be here and you're meant to start turning this stuff on. It will start to fire up. Things will start to come online again, and then watch out. But I think the main message here that you've been trying to give, and it comes through very loud and clear through my teachers and my guides, is it's all about learning to trust with a capital T. And that trust isn't other people, or, it's okay to trust other people, but trust yourself, because you are everything. You are the universe. And you have to trust that first. And if you can't accept that, you're going to have to take little bites of that elephant until you can eat the whole thing. But once you do, you're like, oh, of course it makes sense.
For sure. All the little stuff that I've given up, I realized that the human existence is filled with addiction. Drink coffee every day. Yep. I eat food every day. Like, there's all types of addictions now that we don't even know. But as we start to give up those little things, we're rewarded tenfold on the other side of the process. And there's a lot better reality out there if you can start giving up a little of things that are holding you back from moving forward, and all of us know what those are deep down, what they are personally for each and every one of us. We know what we should change and what. So I just invite you to start going inside yourself, and, Ram Dass put it best, the work is in your inner heart. It's not, you can volunteer to clean up trash. You can volunteer to be part of all these different movements and everything, but the real work is to open and heal your inner heart. And once you start to expand it, once you get to part of your healing process, it'll start to be apparent that you're meant to pass that on to other people,
Yes.
And then ultimately, I stopped worrying about pushing on how many podcasts I would be on or how my books are doing or anything like that a while ago, because I know that, okay, maybe because I'm not selling books or not on podcasts right now is because I need to do my inner work.
Oh, yeah.
And then things would fall into place. And it's just when the time's right and when you're ready, you have all the time in the world. There's no rush. You got way more than 80, 90 years to do this. You got eternity. So settle into it and do the work, but also listen to the calling, and I talk a lot about it in the spiritual community. What's plaguing this movement right now is imposter syndrome, where one person will get the divine message to do something amazing, and the person beside them will get the same message. But since that first person will pass judgment on them, because and we need to support each other, no matter how crazy it sounds like from the other side. Like, support each other in every way that you can. Support one another like you would yourself, because it is yourself.
Yes. Oh, I couldn't have said it better myself. And it brings me to tears to hear you speak it that way. It's beautiful and it's true and it's what we should be doing. And it's ultimately how we join the cosmic community again as a higher level form of ourselves, I believe. But, well, Drew, you were speaking about your books, two of the best books I've ever read, I have to say. So why don't you at least give the titles of your books and maybe tell people how they can get in touch with you, how they can watch that episode of what is it,
Homestead Rescue on so
Rescue?
we're start off with that. Homestead Rescue on Discovery Channel. You can go to discoverygo.com, and our episode is actually season 11, episode 1, so 111. And
Wow.
that wasn't planned by me. It was just Discovery Channel and timing and everything just lined it up like that. But we're the season premiere of this last season that just got done airing. They're filming season 12 right now, and I know there's works for season 13 of the show.
Wow.
So you can check it out on Discovery Go, and our episode is actually free. So there's no sign up or anything, and you can watch it absolutely free. You'll watch a lot of commercials, but
Who cares?
you can see it. You can see it for free, and it's a powerful episode. You get to know me and Ella a little bit more and kind of understand. It'll even make a little more sense of why we're so committed to what we do after watching that episode. But you can also find us at sacredjourneyswithin.com, the website, and you can book on there for private retreats, group retreats, and on site, or there's certain times where we can actually come to you given the right circumstances. But if you've got any questions about any of this, reach out through the website. You can also find me on all the social medias. I changed it all to just Drew Bankey now, so you can just type in my name and find me on any of the social medias, and type in my name on YouTube, and you can find probably over 100 different interviews I've done over the years.
Absolutely.
Grant Cameron was back in 2019, was one of my first big interviews. Ended up doing 2 with him, and had him on Eagles Nest podcast. He's a dear friend now.
Mine too.
And be on the lookout for stuff coming in the future. There's a lot of stuff in the works, and I'm trying to make this more mainstream. So if you know someone that knows someone that knows Joe Rogan or someone like that, pass my information along, because my goal is to do the same demonstration that I did with the telekinesis awakening demonstration, to do that more and more on a bigger scale. So help me out, because I think that's what the real mission is right now, is to waken up our own sacred energies and powers that has been dormant, laying in us for generations. And this is the moment that it's time to wake up. And I'm just really happy to have a small part of that process.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you're here with us, Drew. Yeah.
And the books.
Yeah, the books. I was going to say.
I'm perfect, and so are you. There's about 8 chapters of channelings.
Amazing.
I channeled Osiris, a lot of different things, but that's a really beautiful book. Basically, the main message behind it is the divinity in all creation. A lot of us has been in ceremony, whether it be in meditation or with plant medicine or psychedelics or whatever, and we've had this realization of divine nature of creation, that everything was perfect up until that point. So that means everything's perfect moving forward. The divinity of creation. We need to remember that in every moment. I'm perfect, and so are you speaks on that. The title was given to me by the universe to really test people. It's for those skeptics of being conditioned, nothing's ever perfect. That's complete and utter bullshit. The reality is everything is perfection all the time. It's your perception that's anything different than that. And that's what the first book is about. And the second book, Find Your Inner Guru, is the aim behind that is to answer the question, what happens after the awakening? How do you integrate these understandings into the physical? And that's the second book's about.
Yeah, so good. And just remember, everybody's sacred journeys within, the journey spelled with an NIES, not EYS. And it's really important because once you get on that website, you're going to be so happy. There's so much for you to discover about Drew and his wife Ella and what you've done. We didn't even talk about the fact that you're living out in the middle of nowhere in one of the windiest, craziest weather places in the United States, on a homestead, and you know, raising your children in a sacred manner, and helping others who are in pain and suffering, or who are not awake, to awaken with the practices that you offer. You even do equine therapy, which is so close to my heart too, with the horses, and there's just so much. So everybody, you know, go watch that episode of Homestead Rescue on Discovery. Very important because it'll make you cry and it'll make you laugh. Get the books, go on the website, and get in touch with people who can help get Drew and Ella and this practice, this mission, even to a wider scope. I'm doing everything I can because I love you, and I think what you're doing is so important, and I'm so grateful, and I'm just so grateful to have you in my life. So
I'm too. You know, we just lost a mutual dear friend, John, and
yes.
We were all in talks with doing future episodes and everything, and I think his vision on those future episodes was so amazing and everything. So I really hope to see it move forward, really, and I can't wait to sit back and know that he's still here by when he proves it in that way, that, you know, it starts to move forward. So
Yeah.
I just love I love him, and I'm glad I got the chance to get to know him, and I just want to send a lot of good energy out to John Yost and his
Thank
spirit
you.
now, wherever it may be, and whatever it may be doing. I'm sure it's interesting, and
It's right there with you. It's right here with me. He he doesn't ever stop telling it, but not long ago, you know, after he passed, I took a little time off just to kind of process and to just be, because it's been intense. And, you know, he was my best buddy other than my husband, and we did some good work together, I think. But I was in meditation one morning, and he came in, his big burly voice and his big, you know, burly self. He shook his finger. He's like, "It's time for you to get back up on your horse, Bunky." He used to call me Bunky. "Get on the horse, Bunky. It's time to get back to work, and the mission's not over, and you better get back to work right now." And I'm like, "Okay, bud, thanks." And stuff just keeps happening. So I don't know how it's going to happen. I am not a filmmaker. I do not have the means to make a film. I don't have the connections. I don't know if it's even supposed to be films anymore, but I know that the work is happening, and that the message that we wanted to get out, which is your same message, is going to come out. And so all of us working together, I think, is how it's going to happen. So,
for sure.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's all beautiful, and you know, I see it happening, and it's just I'm so thankful for humanity. I'm excited for everybody of having those moments of, you know, when I realized when disclosure's coming, of that holy shit moment, you know. I'm just so excited for more and more people to have those moments, you know, and I pray for that.
Me
Because
too.
that's when it, you know, I can sit here and talk all day. We can sit here.
Yeah.
We could go on we could continue this on for hours.
Yeah.
But it's not going to hit people until they have the actual experience
You
themselves.
have to have direct experience. Absolutely. So if you want to have a direct experience, get in touch with this man. He can help in many different arenas. But, well, Drew, I know that you have another interview to get to, and thank you for spending the time with us. As always, you're just my favorite person, and I'm so grateful to you. But I just want to say also thank you for coming on the show and being one of those hidden variables that kind of goes on in the background that people don't even know about, that have a direct impact on everything. And I just want to end by saying in Lakesh, which is kind of I'm perfect and so are you, which means I am another you. So
Yeah.
thank you very, very much.
I love you, sister, and I honor you too for all your work. And I hope your program here keeps growing and growing, and ultimately reaching more people, because that's our main goal. I think that's in our hearts, and I see that in you, and I honor that. So
Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Have a beautiful day, and we'll talk again soon. Much
all right,
love.
bye,
Bye.
bye.